Hey, I'm Justin.
This is Chaz.
Join us as we look back together, but learn to stay present.
Come with us as we rise up with hope on the horizon.
This is the podcast of extraordinary millennial gentlemen.
It's a crazy journey that you go on there. Mm-hmm. And I'll try to
I'm skipping a lot of things, like
there
unknowns.
There's a lot of details there. I'll contrast this a little bit because the ending of our stories, I think, is unique to kind of where we're at this point. So we did the same stuff. We did the IUIs. The two was like didn't work. We did the retrievals. We had however many, and for us, I think we're getting answers to why now, but none of them worked. All of them.
Gotcha.
And we initially started with a couple because there's you start getting into some like beliefs and ethical questions there that you have to work through as a couple as well. And
things
so
you would never have to consider without going through infertility.
Right. And you know, again, I've got friends in the situation where like, you know, we were like, well, let's try a couple, see how it goes. If they work, we'll, you know, have those two, and maybe we won't keep any of the other eggs. We didn't want to have these fertilized embryos on ice for the rest of our life.
Genetic,
And I have friends that are in that situation where they're like, what do we do with these? And they don't want to waste them either, right? It's a very, again, expensive. There's a lot of stress and hormones and stuff that both sides have to go through and work through. So for us, that was a strike out, and then we were just done, right? At that point, it was like, we tried
incredibly
everything.
Taxing.
We paid for all that and had, you know, again, luckily certain insurance, certain states and stuff, some was covered, some wasn't. And so we were just like, man, this has been quite the journey. Great. Checking out. So we checked out for a couple years but it never really went away. So it's always been, you know, it's in the back of your mind. It's like, maybe there's more, because we got zero answers through that process. If anything, we had more questions because of how everything failed for us. So there's this whole extra layer. So more recently, we're trying to find like a second opinion, get some other stuff, just kind of more of the diagnostics, which again, we knew going into it with the initial doctor, he was like, I don't do the diagnostic stuff. I'm just here to help you have a baby. That's what I'll do. If you're okay with that, let's move forward. And we're like, great, that's what we want. Yay. But now we want answers. And so we did find a guy. We're kind of working through that, and we'll see what happens. But we have gained some answers, more insight into that whole process as he's explained it again, and he has a very different take. But it's funny because we're in the same town. There's only like you said, even in where we're at in Chicago, there's more, but there's still a very small group of these infertility doctors. And he's like, oh yeah, I went to classes with that guy. Like, okay, tell me what he did. I know him.
World. You're right.
They know each other, and so. But it is good to get that extra take. So if some of you in any way kind of experience the same stuff here, or have, you know, you kind of go through this and you have failures and you're like, oh, well, did we just throw all that stuff away? Could we have just, you know, went on, lived our lives? Or maybe you start having that guilt, like, oh, we should have put that toward adoption. Like, no.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there. So I'll push pause there. And what's coming to mind is just through all of this and all of that, kind of the hope and survive, like what aspects, if there's anything that stands out to you, and I'll try and answer this question as well, but finding hope through that process and coming out at the end being okay kind of regardless of the results, because they'll be mixed, right? The two of us, they're very mixed.
Yeah, no, you're right. I think there's to use a really bad cliche, put your money where your mouth is. That's something you and I can relate to, although we've had different journeys in it and different, you know, measures of success with the infertility and treatments. That to contrast that with, you know, we had a fun date night and then we conceived our child, and you know, you're preparing, you're doing all the things you would do to get a nursery ready, get everything ready. You have expenditures, but I say putting your money where your mouth is, because if you and your spouse are committed to finding answers. Like we've said that phrase quite a bit throughout this, which we don't have answers, by the way.
Yeah.
We don't have a diagnosis. We were on the favorable side of the statistics.
Yep.
We really don't have an explanation other than that. But doing something, it's just like anything else, that exercise, like I talked about, getting after it is a matter of making the decision. And because this is so personal, making that decision for the right reasons with your spouse. Yep. I don't want to just make her happy. I don't want to just stop these arguments or fights. Put your money where your mouth is invest emotionally and invest financially.
Yeah.
Don't put your hope in the money. Put your hope in each other, that what you're doing together is going to, again, you're proactively doing something about a situation in your life that you have no control over.
Yeah.
And I think grasping for that control through action breeds hope.
Yeah. I think taking some of those steps, right? Acting as you take steps and act, you're showing your faith in the process. And for us, I think a big thing that helps is boundaries. Being able to communicate well.
What are those? No, I'm kidding.
So circling back to earlier in the podcast, right? Books, Henry Cloud, look him up. Boundaries. Dr. Henry Cloud. He's got, I don't know, 18 books on boundaries.
Seriously.
He's got a lot. There's one specifically for families, workplace, whatever, relationships, spouses.
Teenagers, toddlers.
Yeah. It's kind of the chicken noodle soup for the soul style, where there's, I don't know how many versions of that book. I've never read a single one.
Neither have I.
That
was a real thing back in the day. What an amazing reference, though.
Yes. Nice. So I would say, knowing that, we had been prepared by some of those books, I think, because when you get to this point, you needed to have boundaries, and you needed to know, and this would be my big tip, if one of you are not ready for anything, then neither of you are ready. You both have to be on the same page and be able to express that and share that and have boundaries and respect each other's boundaries until you're both in the same place. Yeah. That's key. And then for us, I think, like you said, I don't think it's any different. We just had another piece of that. I don't know if it came from the same book, but it's just to have zero expectations. Because, not to have no hope, but expectations are different.
Outcomes.
Exactly.
So economics, dadgummit, Thomas Sowell. You can't expect equality of outcomes.
Yeah.
But where there's equality of opportunity, there's hope, right? There's hope, there's freedom, there's choice.
Yep.
And you can't expect to have inequality of outcomes. Your doctor's going to sit across the desk and tell you that, based on age, based on these blood tests, based on other procedures, what your history's been. That person's going to tell you this is not going to be an equal outcome for everybody. This is where you guys may find yourself. That's not what you take hope in, to your point. It's taking hope that you're doing something, that your actions are going to spur miracles, guidance, science. My goodness, can I tell you guys this? It's incredible. Talking about something that inspires hope. It's going to sound weird probably, unless some of you guys out there have seen it, but I sat in a outpatient room outside of an OR, and the lab technician came in with 2 embryos in a petri dish on a microscope with a TV screen and said, "Here's what we're going to be implanting in your spouse." And I could see them. I took a picture. I was like, "Whoa, this is crazy." Click. A couple amoeba up there.
Oh, yeah.
I think they were 4-day embryos, I think.
Yeah.
Gosh, I'm not a scientist like
3
this.
to 4,
I wish I knew.
think, is the sweet spot.
What you'd expect for typical cell replication. We're not talking about thousands. We're talking about soccer ball.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty amazing. You have to have those points of the journey where you're like, we're doing something. And I'm going to use another cliche. It's terrible. But another one that comes to my mind is kind of fake it until you make it. You know, if you're like, this is the unknown, this is really uncomfortable, guess what? You're diving into the chaos.
Oh, yeah.
And you're trying to carve out this, not control, kind of let that go, right? Yep. Put it in the hands of the doctor. Put it in the hands of your spouse. Have those conversations that's like, hey, this is going to be amazing to know. This is going to be amazing to see where we come out with this, and what could happen. That is hope in and of itself, right? Yeah. So fake it until you make it is the other one for me, because it's so unique and so different. I love what you said about boundaries, though, because you got to temper your expectations, and at the same time, just take every step as like, we're going to nail it. We're going to do it. Yep. One of you, if not both of you, will need to have that cheerleader mentality.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny you say cheerleader, because in my mind, to maybe help relate in different terms, we get sports, right? We relate to that. We're guys, right?
Touchdowns.
So
dunk slams.
If you've gone into games with expectations to win and you lost, you are
crushing.
You crushed yourself.
Yep.
And
it probably affected your play as well.
Oh,
that's the thing. You get that's the classic getting in your own head.
Yes. Yeah. Because you're just like, I got this. You're trying to control the outcome instead of controlling what you can control.
Your inputs.
And so, like what your pitch or whatever, you can control the ball, you can hold it right, you can focus on everything you've practiced and over, right? You can do that, but it's a team sport. You're on a team, you've got this, and there's other factors, other big factors. So it's like zero in on that, focus on what you can control, enjoy the game, and be okay with whatever the outcome is.
The outcome.
Like the whole, again, this is kind of cliche, but it's like, when you go there and your coach is like, if we play our best and they play our best, the best man, the good sportsmanship style of good sports, where it's like, I want to play the best people out there, because if I play my best and they play their best and they win, I'm going to be happy for them. That's great. With the outcome. Yeah. I'll be fine with the outcome. I'm okay either way. It's just going to be a great game versus the other style of play. So I think if you have that kind of sportsmanship mentality from sports and the practice and the focus, you're prepared, right? I mean, that helps. That helps a lot.
So I'm going to run with that metaphor a little bit. No, it's really good symbology that I can relate to as far as, sports. You are a team. It's back to what you said earlier about boundaries. Your foundation needs to be solid. If you guys are listening out there and you're like, man, this is such a difficulty in our relationship.
Yep.
If you guys can't get on the same page and talk through what ifs top to bottom,
you're game planning, right?
That's exactly what I was saying. You are game planning. You're going to say, and again, there's not really an other team in this, but there's winning and losing, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And exactly what you said, Chaz, makes sense. Going back to, you guys need to be a good team. You need to know how to work together. You need to be able to know when your spouse needs relief. Yeah. I mean, flat out, because this is an incredibly emotionally draining and taxing process. Forget the outcome for a minute. Mm-hmm. It's not about the outcome while you're going through it. There's far too many milestones, and you and I blazed through them, hardly identified them. Yep. And that's not really what we wanted to do tonight, as much as try and relate a subject that I think it's more prevalent than it's been in the past, or at least the discussion is. It's out of the open. It's out of the bedroom. It's out of the home. It's on social media. It's in our everyday conversations. It's a real difficulty that plagues a lot of people and a lot of couples.
Yep. Just in my head, I'm throwing this out there. So trying to think of
Hail Mary.
Trying to think of 2-player team sports, right? So you've got
tennis, doubles
in tennis, right? Synchronized diving. synchronized
Yes.
diving. Figure skating, couples figure skating. Throw that one out there.
Yeah.
And
there you go.
if you need
Blades of Glory.
exactly, that's where my mind went initially. I was like,
my
if you
gosh.
need a laugh and you need to remind yourself about good teamwork, watch Blades of Glory. Maybe you'll get her into it with you because it's figure skating.
Likely not. It's a different
hilarious.
type of humor.
Very much so. But for you, it will be great and
man.
hilarious. And I think all your problems will be solved after you watch that.
That's true.
So, but yeah, there's not many.
Inside your face.
Right. And if you're a golf guy, right, maybe golf and caddy.
Yeah. There you go.
Denver, City by the Bay. Anyway.
City by the Bay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I may watch that this evening, ostracize my wife because she'll be like, that's so stupid.
Right.
But I will still enjoy it.
Yeah, we're researching team sports. That's what we're doing.
That's right.
And anyway, yeah, I can't think of too many more, but you kind of got to put yourself in that space and be like, honestly,
I don't know.
I'm Batman. Batman and Robin, yeah. If you watch that show, this is maybe too theoretical, and I may be super off on this. So, but if you watch it and you look at the boundaries they have to learn for each other, the way they have to communicate, and the way they have to come together at the end, and they get away from they're in it to do their best, I think. And I mean, and of course they end up
support each other.
winning.
It doesn't matter. It's like if the other person gets hurt, it doesn't matter what the score is. That's what needs to be resolved.
They figured it out. They had a game plan. They had a coach, right? That's your doctor. They had all these things. It's very relatable. You probably never look at the show again, but just get some laughs, right? It's good stuff. So
I think, No, one thing that came to my head is never tell your spouse through this journey of infertility, suck it up, buttercup, or something like that. So the sports metaphors do need to have some parameters. There need to be boundaries for the boundaries.
Exactly.
When it comes to liking this to sports. But no, man, that's solid. I hope everybody out there enjoyed this episode. It is not the only subject we're going to talk about. Yep. But everybody find some hope out there in wherever you are in this. Stick with it. Definitely take action. Do it together. Be on the same page. Fake it until you make it. If it seems tough, it's because it is tough. Okay. Yeah. That's how these things, when they pull at your wallet and the stressors. I mean, my goodness, marriage is a stressor. Interpersonal relationships are a stressor. Sex and sex problems are a stressor. And then you throw finances, children. I mean, it's the full deck. It's the full deck of challenges.
You mentioned like 5 of the 8 things of the top reasons. If you have major stress in those areas, people get divorced over these, right? So they're very hot topics.
Just imagine, put all those things that don't go together in the Blendtec or the Vitamix or whatever, and then just heat it up until it's melting hot and be like, I want a fresh cup.
Yeah, give me some of that.
Give me some of that.
Every day. That's what I drink.
That's right.
Every morning. I would just tag on be in the moment in those when it's tough.
That's right.
Just, be present.
Yes.
Be the moment. Be there. Don't run away to any other things and just be present. I think that would be key.
Here's one other one too.
Yeah.
And this is not one-upsmanship. I promise.
It's all good.
But when you said that, it also made me think there will be an army of people around you supporting you just within the team that you're working with, those medical, professionals. I can't say enough about the people that we got to know in that professional level who were supporting us, who were always real with us about what we were going through, what to expect. They were like, ask me questions anytime. Like amazing medical professionals are, they weren't just caring about the outcome. They cared about the patients. They cared about those who were seeking this help and their assistance. And staying in the moment, look around at any steps in this process and think there's, tens of people, 100 people in this building, not just other people who are pursuing that same procedure or answers as you are, but there's people here that are helping. I know you're spending money. I get it. Don't look at it like a business or anything like that. Yeah. Because those people genuinely have a very down-to-earth sensitivity about why you're there and what their expertise can help you with. So that would be my second. Definitely stay in the moment and look around you and see that there's a lot of people involved and assisting to try and make this, success.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for spending some time with us today. Hope you find hope and joy throughout this upcoming week. If you've liked this podcast, please hit the subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and we'll see you next week.
I ate my grandma.